Karen, what are you doing?
Oh my gosh, woman, in our last food video, we used all the rest of our coconut milk for that yummy chia seed pudding. So I have to make more coconut milk. Ooh, what are we making? Well, I'm gonna make coconut milk because this wonderful recipe, Heaven in a Cup, is delicious with coconut milk added to the end of it. So for quick coconut,
Stop the train. You are making Heaven in a Cup?
yes, you know I'm making Heaven in a Cup. It's your favorite drink in the world. There's a reason it's called Heaven.
Because it tastes like heaven. Oh, my Lanta. I am so excited. If you are a coffee drinker, cappuccino drinker, latte drinker, hot cocoa drinker, like you don't need to drink a single thing ever after you try Heaven in a Cup. It is literally like if clouds, puffy clouds from the sky could just be taken and put in your mouth. This is Heaven in a Cup. And Karen, like, what are some of the benefits of this drink? Because, so if I'm looking at this, because I have made this at home, like, there's so many amazing medicinal mushrooms in there, and like goji berries, which everybody knows is my favorite, and honey and raw cacao, and then the coconut milk, but like mushrooms, like explain to people, like this isn't like mushrooms from your grocery store where it's like, oh, I'm gonna saute them and put them in like a veggie stir fry. Like this is like something completely different.
Yes, they are. And so medicinal mushrooms are just that. They are mushrooms, which is a fungus that grows off of right around the earth. Interesting enough, fungus is considered the fruit of the earth because you have an entire almost like a microbiome. It's called the mycelium, and mycelium covers the entire earth. So it runs underneath the riverbeds, it runs underneath the ocean, it runs everywhere. And some of you have been lucky enough to see the mycelium when you've been gardening and you dig in and there's this very thin little paper, thinner than paper, white webbing.
Yes.
That's mycelium. And mushrooms are the fruit of mycelium. And these particular mushrooms that we have in Heaven in a Cup are 3 of my favorite. All of them very anti-cancer, by the way, and then they each have specific values as well. So we have chaga, astragalus, and reishi. And now reishi reishi is a gorgeous mushroom. It's like this big bouquet of flowers, right? And they just slice it nice and thin so you can throw them in your soup. Thank you very much. Anyhow, so we've got reishi and we've got chaga and astragalus. I wrote down a couple of my favorite things about each one of them so that we can post it with the video and I don't want to miss it. So reishi, right here, it contains sterols, right? And that acts as a precursor for hormones, right? So phenomenal for people who are trying to balance hormones. As you know, the neurotransmitters are from the nervous system. So the nervous system makes neurotransmitters and the endocrine system makes hormones. And this contains a lot of sterols, which are the precursors for hormones. And so if your testosterone and your adrenaline and your, whatever it might be, are low, we can look at helping to balance those using the sterols that are in reishi, which is phenomenal alone, but it also can help lower blood pressure, improves immune. All 3 of these are phenomenal for the immune system. This is very helpful for the liver. So reishi tea for the liver has been proven over and over again to have incredible results. Again, anti-inflammatory. Actually, all 3 of these are very anti-inflammatory, anti-aging, helps with detoxification. There's quite a bit more on reishi, but I just wanted to share some of my favorites here. Chaga, and I love chaga. I have chaga all the time. It's in several of my recipes. It has one of the highest auric values in the world. It trumps even blueberries and turmeric. Like the stuff is amazing, right? And so this is phenomenal in the auric value, which is the oxygen radical absorbency capacity. Reduces cancer, anti-inflammatory, improves physical function. That's why I started using it in the first place. When I was working out, I like to have I wanted to do more out of my workouts, and chaga, when I was studying chaga, this is forever ago, it was really good for physical. So I would drink it in my Heaven in the Cup all the time and my son loves Heaven in the Cup, my husband's love it, everybody loves it. Anyhow, so chaga, very good for improving physical function and performance. Very antiviral. Of the 3, this is probably the most antiviral. One for immune support, phenomenal. And this is also great for cardiovascular. So if you look at that, chaga, a lot of men deal with ED, right? So it could be your husband, your spouse, your brother, and this is phenomenal not only for cardiovascular but for physical function, and this would be a phenomenal mushroom to be using if you're having any of those issues. And then astragalus, which is all chopped up nice and fine for us, great for energy, wonderful for diabetes, it helps control blood sugar levels a little bit better than the other 2, so it's phenomenal for diabetics, increases immune function, anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer, and all of these help the body to adapt to stress. That's why you feel so good when you drink it. Because
So it's not just because it tastes so good?
No, it's also very common. I didn't mean to read a list, but I just didn't want to miss some of the most important things on those. And so Heaven in a Cup was born when I was making and playing with mushrooms in my kitchen. And so I literally just make it, as described. One thing I do is I like using things loose, so I just put it right into the water. If you want to use a little bag, like a nut milk bag or a tea strainer, you're welcome to do that. I just feel that you get more out of your teas, your loose teas, and your mushrooms when water can.
It's not bound up.
It's not bounded at all. It's attacking, not attaching, but all of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw that in there. And then goji berries, and goji berries naturally sweeten this. So when you're done with it, you don't even need to add any sweetener to it. So I'm gonna throw some goji berries in there. Delicious. Leave the rest for you.
Please.
And then I'm gonna bring this to a boil, and I'm gonna simmer it. And once it's done simmering for a couple hours, that is when you will literally play with it as much as you want. Oh, I'm gonna grab the cacao. So I'm gonna put a little bit in this mug.
You pour way better than I do. I would have had that all over the table.
That's awesome. We're gonna add a little bit of coconut milk. You can add honey if you want. And then, to make it really yummy, we're gonna add some raw cacao, which of course has its own encyclopedia of benefits from magnesium and zinc.
When I first started, as an adult trying to really pay attention to my health, I kind of was turned off by raw cacao because I was like, this tastes awful.
Okay, it's 100% bitter.
But then I was like, oh, you have to mix it with other things. You can't just eat it like chocolate. Yeah. So if you're like me and you're just learning, don't just eat this like regular chocolate. Add it to something. And it's going to give it that amazing chocolate flavor. Actually, my daughter has put this in our grain-free pancakes to make them a little bit chocolatey. And she's like a little baker. She loves that. But this was she just loves experimenting. So that was something she discovered. So
if you want to make your coconut milk and you make it chocolate, add a little bit of honey and some raw cacao powder, and you've got a chocolate milk. So it's very easy. So there you are, some wonderful Heaven in a Cup with a little bit of coconut milk and some chocolate. So
I feel like the sky has opened and given me the gift of heaven in a cup. This is so delicious, and I have to say, as someone that did not create this, as not living in your family, but someone that learns from you all the time, this is really something that I love making. I don't make it enough, and I need to make it more, but my whole family loves. My youngest is 6, and my husband grew up in a totally different way than I did, and he even loves it. It's a great alternative to hot cocoa. I even let my kids put in the organic healthy for you marshmallows to make it a little sweet treat. But you can really have fun with this, and there's just so many things that you can do with it. But this is probably my favorite drink that you ever make. So Karen,
thank you.
I love it. I love it.
I'm so glad. And I want to just mention that a lot of you are going to see me talk about reishi. You're going to hear other people talk about, chaga, which is great for cancer, et cetera, et cetera. You can go and you can buy, containers that have some chaga and some reishi, maybe 180 capsules. You're going to spend a lot of money. You're going to spend a lot of money on that. Or you can just go and buy the bulk. Okay, so you had to bring out my
well, I just have to say, Karen comes from the garage with a container. I'm thinking, oh, okay, what has she got in there? Only to discover this is her mushroom container. I've got some containers like that at home, but you are committed to the ever-evolving use of medicinal mushrooms when this is how you store your mushrooms. So if you ever want to know about mushroom health, this woman right here is the woman to contact. My goodness. Now, if you're watching this video and you have medicinal mushrooms at home, drop a picture in the comment section and let's see how you store your mushrooms, because maybe there are other people in the world just like you who also store their mushrooms in a huge container and in the garage. But Karen, seriously though, I think one of the best things is that everything that you create in your cookbook, if you guys haven't had our cookbook before, this is the one and only cookbook you'll ever have to buy. And look at how much it's loved. Think at how much it's loved. And she just keeps using the same one, even though this lady created the thing, for gosh sakes. But I think one of the things we can remember as we sign off this video is that never be afraid to try new things. Never be afraid to experiment, because what's the worst that can happen? You make heaven in a cup and you don't have one of the mushrooms, so you experiment and add something else and come up with, I don't know, mountains in a cup, you know, desert in a cup. I don't know, but you never know. And so I think one of the things you do so well is you give people permission to experiment and substitute, because you might find something new that you love that is just as good, if not better, than heaven in a cup.
Awesome. Thank you all for joining us for Heaven in a Cup, and thank you, Hope, for all your love and support.
We'll
This is
be
great.
mushing along.
Here we go.
Here we go.